All right, guys, here's the rest of your chapter 7-ish notes on circles. So, what happens with circles is sometimes you're given the standard form, which is what your textbook does not call standard form. Most textbooks will call the form that you see right here standard. So we need to turn it into factored form first. Sometimes it's called vertex form. Because we don't know what the center and the radius are with the form that it is. So to get this to the form we want, we actually have to complete the square. The only problem is there's two variables here, so we have to complete the square twice. So what I would do first is group your x's together, your y's together, and move the 6 over. So let's do x squared minus 6x, leave a little room, plus y squared minus 2y, leave a little room, equals -6, okay? Because you're going to have to complete the square for the x's and the y's and add both numbers to both sides. So b over 2 squared, remember that's how you complete the square. The b for our x's is -6, but we can just pretend like it's 6 because you have to add it to both sides anyway and square it. So 6 over 2 is 3, squared is going to be 9, but I have to add the 9 here as well, okay? For the y's, -2 divided by 2, or 2 divided by 2 is 1, squared is 1, so you have to add a 1 to both sides, okay? Remember these you factor, put a plus sign in between, and then combine like terms. So we have 4 here, right? Because -6 plus 10 is 4. And then if you factor these, it comes out to x minus 3 squared and y minus 1 squared. Okay, the nice thing about that is now we know our center. What you'll notice is that h and k are the opposite signs of what's given. So our center is 3, 1, kind of like what we're used to doing with like vertex form of a quadratic. This is our radius squared, right? So r is going to equal 2, so our radius is 2. So then to graph it, you just plot the point. So let's graph 3, 1. And then you can graph the radius in a few different spots. That's the easiest way to draw this. So what I usually do is I go from the center up to, from the center right to, down to, and left to. And that will create a circle. And the nice thing is I have an option to make a circle out of that. That's terrible, but hopefully you get the idea. If I moved it out of the way, you guys could just like literally connect the dots and make it as close to a circle as possible. It does not have to be perfect, but try to get your center there, and then your radius should still be 2. So that's your circle. All right, next up. Ooh, the center didn't move, or the circle. Now it says find the x and y intercepts of the graph. Before you do that, I just want to take a quick second and have you see if you can figure out the center and the radius from this. I know that's not what they're asking, but just to make sure you're good to go. So the center would be what? That's right, it's 4, 2. Okay, remember to change the signs on there. So if it was plus, it would turn to a negative, right? And then your radius, remember this is your radius squared, so our radius is 4. Okay, anyway, x and y intercepts. What we usually do to find an x-intercept or a y-intercept is you plug in 0 for the other variable. So to find the x-intercept, let's do that first. If you think about the x-axis, all of your y values are 0, right? So all I have to do is plug in 0 for y. So let's do that. And then solve for x. Okay, I'm going to give you a little space for that too. But I'm also going to do the y-intercept down here. We plug in 0 for x, right? So it'd be 0 minus 4 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. Now, most people are like, oh gosh, we have to FOIL that out. No, you don't. Please don't. That's way too much work right now. Simplify this, right? So negative 2 squared is 4. Subtract the 4, so you get x minus 4 squared equals 12. And then square root both sides. So you don't even have to expand it, just square root. But just be careful because you get two answers. So you get x minus 4 equals radical 12 and also negative radical 12. I would simplify this a little first. So just a reminder that radical 12, if you simplify it as a radical, becomes 2 radical 3. And then you have x minus 4 equals negative 2 radical 3. And then you just solve for both. So you could also just do that all at once and just say it's x equals, add the 4, so it'd be 4 plus or minus 2 radical 3 if that works for you, if you wanted to just be concise. Just know that that is actually two different answers, okay? The y-intercept, what's weird is normally we only get one y-intercept, but because it's a circle, technically you can get 2. What's nice is if you get 1, but we'll see what happens. So simplify this part. So you get 16 equals, that's not an equals, sorry, plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. Oh, weird. You're going to get 0 because you subtract the 16 to both sides. So you get y minus 2 squared equals 0. The square root of 0 is 0. So you get y minus 2 equals 0. Oh, yay, you only get 1. So y equals 2 is your y-intercept, okay? Or if you want to do the proper way, it would be 0, 2. And technically these would be something, 0, okay? All right, folks, that was it for the real notes part. So all I'm going to have you do is actually just practice. So you only have to do 1, 2, and 3 because 4 and 5 I think I deleted on your notes anyway. But write the standard form. This is very similar to the first question we did on the first set of notes. And then number 2 is like the one that we literally just did. And then 3 is like the second question we did. So try them out. I'm going to have the answers in a second, but please make sure you attempt them on your own, especially 3 because you have to complete the square. And that's something that people struggle with sometimes. So check out the answers when you're done. All right, guys, check your answers. For number 1, I showed the distance formula in case you like that method a little bit better to find the radius. So your radius was radical 8, which means it turns into just a regular 8 in the formula because it's r squared. Check your h comma k too, because remember if it's plus 1 it turns into minus 1. If it's minus 1 it turns into plus 1, or you could just sub in. For number 2 you get x equals 2 for the x-intercept, so you only have 1. And your y-intercepts are actually 2 of them because it's negative 3 plus or minus radical 5. If you think about the location of the circle, that's probably why it has 2 y-intercepts too, because the center is 2, negative 3, and then the radius is 3. So it extends a little bit further on the y-axis rather than the x. And then for the third question, you had to complete the square again twice. So your formula ends up being this, which means your radius is 3, and your center is negative 2, negative 2. So hopefully your circle looked a little bit better than mine. That was my attempt. If you have an option to make a perfect circle, fantastic, but freehanding it is a little tough. So anyway, we are going to practice a little bit the next few days. And then you have a little activity. It's not even really a quiz with your graphing calculator that I'm actually going to hand out. I'm going to give it to you on Thursday, and it won't be due until Friday. And that'll actually be your last assignment of the year, which is so exciting. Next week is just going to be makeup work. So if you have anything that you have to make up for partial credit, just a reminder, you get a week. So make sure you're turning things in. But otherwise, this is probably the last time I'm going to talk to some of you because you might be going to college. But anyway, sad. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful summer. Stay well. I really appreciate all the hard work you guys have been putting in this year. And I'm just really I'm really blessed to have you guys as students. So if you skipped over this message, great. But otherwise, good luck. And send me a note if you're like feeling emotional or just want to say hi or, all of the above. Miss you guys.